Hey there, comic friends, I'm Travis, and this is another edition of No Capes, where I talk about the comic books that don't have to do with superheroes and or Ethan doesn't read them or doesn't review them along with me. First up, we're going to talk about Bedlam, and I believe this is issue 8. I like Bedlam as a whole. There are parts I really like about it. The beginning's interesting, you get the matter red stuff. The end, of course, ends on this very dramatic moment to draw you in, to want to read more of it. I don't even mind the middle part where it has to do with our main crazy character helping out the detectives figure out the crime and whatnot. I almost feel like there needs to be more sense as to why he knows what he knows. I mean, other than obviously he's a crazy person, crazy murderer himself. Just because you're a crazy mass murderer, does that mean you're suddenly locked into every other crazy mass murderer there is? I'm not 100% sold on that anymore. I'm still not happy with the artwork. Okay, I've got a new artist on the thing. He needs to figure out how to just do his own thing. If he wants to, obviously they want the representation of Matter Red to be done in a different art style than the rest of the book. And I don't mind the Matter Red stuff. It doesn't look exactly like Rezio's, but it looks kind of like it was. But it works. That mimicry doesn't feel so bad. The in-between stuff is a mess for me. It's just I don't know, I have a really hard time. It's just a smudged, muddled mess is what it feels like to me. And it's very frustrating because I think the book's an interesting book. It has the ability to be smart. But I'm struggling, and normally art doesn't make me struggle. If it's a good enough story, I'll read it even if the art's bad. Give me stick figures, and if it's a good story and the art moves forward with what I need it to, I'm fine. I'm struggling with this one. So I hope Ryan Brown moves more to whatever his style is. Whatever that is, and I'm not 100% sure. But I know it's not, I'm almost positive it's not this per se, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So, as a ton more No Cape books, as I'm calling them here, are going to be released here in the next few months, this may go away. This may become something that if I continue to hear people talk about it, I pick it up in trade or whatever. I don't know that I'm so riveted now that I'm just waiting to know what the next issue is, because the book's not firing on all cylinders, because the art is struggling to help tell a story for me. So it's kind of where I am. Like I said, all these other new books come out. This month I'll have to be doing an order, and there's at least 4 new Just Vertigo books that come out that I'm gonna have to be looking at, putting in my order, that come out in October. So I don't know. When I make that order, don't know. And if it's not that month, maybe the next month, because I think in November then there's like 3 or 4 more image books come out too. So I don't know. Something's got to give in my pocketbook and my collecting, and I have some superhero books I'm thinking about dropping also, but this one might be there unless something really grabs me. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not riveted to it now, and the struggle for me with the art is making me question whether I want to keep getting it. Okay, next up, BPRD Vampire, issue 5 of 5, ending of this mini-series. We finish off the Anders story. By the end of this, we know exactly what Anders is. He has become kind of a monster. He thinks that he's doing the right thing. He's become this kind of vampire monster, and he's going to go out and destroy more vampires. But he's consumed an entire city to give him the power he needs to do this. Our Professor Bartholomew shows up to try and stop him. He obviously can't. There's some great storytelling in here of the correlation between Anders and let's say Hellboy and even Abe Sapien and Liz Sherman, all of them. This is set in 1948. he's in charge of a bunch of monsters. He's trying to control a bunch of monsters. Well, what happens when you can't control the monster? And Anders is an example of that. He sent Anders off to this place, kind of thinking that either Anders would get his head screwed on straight, or this would probably be the demise of Anders. It would kill him, and it'd all be solved. But it isn't solved for him. Now he's kind of potentially personally responsible for this monster, like he is the rest of the paranormal people that help BPRD. And what does that mean? Interesting stuff. It sets up for there to be another story down the road about Anders, because the professor's gathering the troops to potentially have to deal with Anders. So maybe we should have some other cool stories there. Always great to see Gabriel Braun, Fabio Moon on artwork telling a story. Anything they do, I'm going to pick it up. They just do such great stuff. Another No Capes book that I think everybody should be picking up is you should be picking up Day Tripper. Go buy this, the trade. It's one big trade. Absolutely gorgeous, an emotional roller coaster of a book on so many levels. Well worth picking up. Definitely in the No Capes, not action adventure in any way, shape, or form. A piece of life kind of a story that's great also, but that's a different video. Anyway, great miniseries. I enjoyed it. It added more to the whole interesting BPRD universe. Good stuff. Next up is the #1 issue. This is Collider issue 1. I'm sure you've seen some other people's videos talking about this. I haven't heard anybody say that they didn't like this that picked it up. Fabulous story. The basic premise is the laws of physics are falling apart, and have been falling apart for a while now. And the U.S. government has created a task force that is designed to deal with these issues. And in particular, we've got a character, one of the main characters in the book. He is an agent, and his job is when they have this rift, like a gravity thing opens up and there's no gravity really there and people are flying all over the place, he goes in and he welds it shut. They have this way of, it's like a tear in the fabric of dimensional reality in some sense or another, and he's going in and attempting to weld it shut. That's his job. He's kind of the equivalent of the wild FBI agent kind of thing, except he's this kind of an agent instead. He has the women that he's kind of seeing on the side. He doesn't really ever sleep in his own bed. He's just living the wild life of a young agent, basically. One of the things we also find out is that his father had something to do with early exploration of this breaking down of the rules of reality as we see them, which is interesting. I'm sure we're going to get more correlation between those two. Besides the agency that you have going on, dealing with this situation and whatnot, there's also some political stuff going on in the background. It seems like our main agent character is one of his best buddies is potentially on the take, either from a rival corporation or a rival government. There's some argument as to whether or not the taking care of this breaking of physics should be done by the government or should be done by private financing. So we're going to have some intrigue there also. Obviously, awesome cover. The pinks on this thing and whatnot just make it a very, very striking cover. It's just bang, there it is. Art on the inside is also really great. It's not a traditional, superhero style comic. It's definitely a No Capes independent, Vertigo-esque kind of a book as far as the art and whatnot. It's fresh. It's really interesting. Really excited for this. It's going to be a really fun new ongoing series. I'm hoping a bunch of people are picking up. Looks like a bunch of people through the YouTube comic book community did pick this thing up. That excites me. There's 300 or 400 of us out there. If most of us are picking that up, that's a good chunk of people, I think. Obviously, not enough to keep sales, but it's a big part of that, because for every one of us that are talking about it, I would hope that there's 5 more that aren't talking about it but are getting it too. Great stuff. Really, really enjoyed it. Hey, next up from Image Comics, it's 5 Ghosts, and I'm cool with the fact that they just call it 5 Ghosts now. I kind of liked it when it was the The Haunting of Fabian Gray was the title, but it's 5 ghosts now. That's fine. Great cover here. No, it's not floating heads. Someone's going to mention, oh, Travis is floating heads and you hate floating heads. Nah, he's juggling those things. Magically flying around in his hands. It's not floating heads per se. Those are skulls. Great book. Basically, this series, if you haven't gotten on board, I'm saying get on board. Next month, I think the trade comes out. September, the trade comes out for the first 5. Get that if you don't want to try and hunt down singles. Get that, read that. Then in November, you can jump on issue 6, which is kind of a standalone story. And then come October, issue 7 will hit, and it'll be an ongoing thereon. This started out as being just a miniseries, popular enough to be able to be an ongoing series, which is awesome. This issue in particular, it wraps up the struggle Fabian was having to deal with the 5 ghosts that he had, that he has in him that have basically been kind of driving him mad and tearing him apart. There's a small resolution with his sister who he's been trying to hunt down, who obviously was damaged in the process of him getting this Dreamstone. They explain further what happened, or he got the Dreamstone in him. This man, he combats this man who seems to have his own kind of a Dreamstone. There's some combat there and some more resolution, but it also sets up for everything that's going to come from here on. And I'm really impressed because I was getting concerned after the last issue. I'm thinking, man, how are they going to wrap this thing up in an issue, wrap the story up in an issue? But they did a really good job of that, of just kind of, dealing with this immediate story that was there, and then easily setting up a position to catapult the story forward into whatever kind of craziness that wants to go on. Just a really fun book. It as a lot of us keep talking about, like on the Comic Roundtable and stuff, this just feels like my best description of it, and it doesn't mean anything to a lot of the younger readers, is it just feels kind of like the old Johnny Quest cartoon-esque kind of a feel to it. It just has this, this fresh, who knows what's going to happen, dynamic art that makes you excited to see what's going to go on next. And lots of times, it's simple storytelling, but just told in a really, really fun way. Fun action adventure book. And I don't think there are a lot of those out there. Good stuff. Lastly, I am going to talk about The Wake issue 3. This was an awesome book. I've liked the first 2 issues, but this issue just cemented just how great this creator team is together and the story that they're pulling off. Every issue, you get this main story that's going on with this female biologist who specializes in whale songs and sonics and that sort of thing, and she's been recruited by a government agency. They're down in this oil rig way under the ground, and they've got this specimen of this merman, or whatever you want to call him, down there, and he's breaking loose, and them dealing with that. And not only you have that, then you have these, each issue, you have these little slices of something that have they're way out there. And you're like going, what does that have to do with, and then they don't touch on it again. I'm sure the way Scott Snyder writes is it's all going to lead in together at some point. In this one, the first panels are Mars, 3.5 billion years ago. Mars? What does it have to do with Earth and these merman stuff? It's just, where is it going to go? It's those things are just like amazing. Then you get the main story. It's just absolutely great. This merman is broken loose. We fully confirmed the fact that he's got some sort of venom toxin that he attacks people with, and you hallucinate. I don't know how much control he has over hallucinations, or you're just seeing what you really desire in life and whatnot. Our main character, she's back with her son, and she's having this dream, and it's all pleasant. He shows up. He didn't go to school, but that's okay. He's running drugs. It's fine, just as long as you're achieving great things and whatnot, which kind of sinks in that, her dream's kind of messed up, and she gets shaken to awakenedness after knowing she's been either the siren song or been doped, one of the two. Or it's a combination of the two things is what I think it is. The guy has a toxin, plus the mirror man has a toxin of some sort, plus the song that he's singing creates these things and whatnot. One of my favorite ones in there is a character in here. His name is Mesk, M-E-K-S, and he's the guy they hired. He's kind of like the ocean version of the bounty hunter. He's known for being able to kill and capture all kinds of rare specimens and whatnot. Amongst the other ocean biologists, he's not a very positive person because he's a killer. But he's on board in case they need to figure out how to trap it or kill it, which is great. He decides he's going after this thing because they're just screwed. It's broken a hole in their oil rig. It's flooding water. Lots of people are already, seemingly probably already dead as they're trying to figure out what to do. He decides he's just going to fight this thing. Throws off his mask and goes at the thing. Well, he gets nailed almost immediately by the toxins of this thing. His dream is absolutely fabulous. It kind of, I think it solidifies his character and his character's personality in a single panel. When he's dreaming his beautiful dream, he is sitting at the end of a very, very richly decorated dining room table. He's got a wine glass in one hand, a fork in the other hand, and laid out across this beautiful spread is like a beluga whale, a nice whale right there for him to eat. Just perfectly nails that character in that single panel description of what this guy is like. Bang! It's right there. Absolutely beautiful storytelling. That alone was amazing. The other part of this thing I think is really fabulous is our main character starts telling about the fact that the sounds that she's hearing and whatnot is part of what all of her her scientific field calls the loneliest whale. And it's this kind of, every once in a while they hear this strange call, and it's like a repeating. And she describes how it's repeating a song it has heard. It's not doing its own song. It's repeating a song that it's heard that they think that it heard when it was very, very young. And then that there's some traumatic thing happens in the middle of this. And then she describes how large portions of what this merman is spewing out in sound is this distress, is this thing that's happening, which just leads them to think they're in that much trouble. Characters manage to get into some scuba gear and attempt to escape the oil rig to get to where their submarine is at. And at one point, towards the very end, you see this panel. And it's a panel where you're looking up from the bottom of the ocean upwards so you can see the light potentially coming from the surface. But there is a wake of shadows of large amounts of more mermen coming over the horizon. So it's not simply just a single person, but a large mass of God knows what's going to happen now. Extremely exciting book. First reading through actually raised hairs on my back of my neck and on my arm. It was that intense. It was such a great read. I normally don't just turn right around and read a comic again, even when I'm going to talk about it. But this is definitely one I've read 3 times now, just because it is so good. It just, there's so many perfect comic book moments in it. Absolutely fabulous. Sequential art right there. So that's it for this time. I have no idea what's coming in this next week's comics. I haven't looked yet to see what's coming up in the next No Capes, but I hope you're reading some great No Capes. There's some incredible stuff coming out. Maybe in the next What the Fugue I do, the next 1 or 2 of those I'll do. I'll talk about some of the other No Capes that are coming up. So if you're interested in those kinds of things, you're on board to making sure that you're requesting those at your wherever you get your comics from, since a lot of these independent books, some stores aren't on board with them if you have it ordered in advance. So, at any rate, hope you're reading some great stuff. What are you guys all reading? What do you think of the books I read? Am I wrong on Bedlam or whatever there? Or heck, am I wrong on The Wake? You're not liking it. Let me know. Anyway, have a great one, everybody.